Hello everyone! In this video we're going to go over the Vocabulary Workshop Level Orange Unit 11 words. You can follow along at home using your book. Let's get started! Our first word is blockade. Blockade is a verb, and a blockade is to close off or keep people or supplies from going in or out. So when there is a blockade or someone is doing a blockade, people and things cannot go in or out of a place. The example sentence says, warships may be used to blockade a harbor. So what this sentence means is that if there are, let's say, two countries that are fighting, one country might use their warships, like these, to block other people or things from going to the place where they want to go. So that is called a blockade. You can see in the picture that all of the ships are in a line, and if some other ship tries to go there, then they can stop them. That is called a blockade. Here is an example of a road blockade. They put up these road closed signs to stop cars from going down this road. So they are blocking or stopping the cars from going. Maybe there's some parade or some other thing or construction happening on the other side of the road. So they need to block the road. They need to stop people from going in there. So this would be called a blockade. The same is true for this picture. There is a line of people. Maybe they are protesting about something, so they are blocking the cars from going down the street. That is called a blockade. Some synonyms are barricade, and an antonym is to open. And blockade can also be used as a noun. The definition says the closing off of an enemy nation, city, port, or area, usually by the military, something that closes off or keeps out. The example says, during the Civil War, the Union forces used a land and sea blockade to cut off the city of Charleston, South Carolina. This definition and sentence are a little bit difficult, but the meaning is the same as what we talked about here. It's just that here we are using it as a verb, and here we are using it as a noun. We're talking about this actual thing being called a blockade. So anytime that an area is closed or blocked so that other people or things cannot go inside, then we would call that a blockade. Some synonyms are a siege and a barrier, and there are no antonyms for this word. Our next word is chant. Chant is a verb, and a chant means to sing, to recite in a tone that may not vary at all. For example, I often chant when jumping rope. So when people are chanting, it's basically like they are saying the same thing over and over again. For example, these people at a sports game might be chanting something like, "You can do it, you can do it, you can do it," over and over again to give some motivation or give some energy to the players. We would call that a chant. Synonyms are intone and vocalize, and there are no antonyms for this word. So remember, chant is just repeating the same words over and over again, usually in the same tone of your voice. It doesn't change much. But this chant, we're talking about the action of doing it. So they are chanting. We can also use chant as a noun. So now when it's a noun, we're talking about the thing that is being said. Chant as a noun is a song in such a tone, words or phrases repeated in rhythm. The example says, at a soccer match, the chant of thousands of fans excites the teams to do their best. So just like we talked about in this picture, when the crowd is doing a chant or chanting, then the team might be excited and they might try their best. Have you ever been to a sports game where the crowd was doing a chant? What did they say? Here's an example of a chant that you might know or maybe you've heard it before. This one is the Days of the Week chant, and it sounds like this.
Days of the week, days of the week, days of the week, days of the week, days of the week. There's Sunday and there's Monday, there's Tuesday and there's Wednesday, there's Thursday and there's Friday, and then there's Saturday. Days of the week, days of the week, days of the week, days of the week, days of the week.
Have you ever heard this chant before, or have you done a chant similar to this in your classes? Some synonyms are a hymn, incantation, sing-song, and recitation. There are no antonyms for this word. Our next word is despair. Despair can be used as a verb and as a noun, and it means to give up all hope, lose heart, or total loss of hope, a cause of loss of hope. Basically, it feels like the thing that you want to happen will never happen, or things are really bad and nothing will make them better. So you feel helpless and like nothing will ever change. That feeling is called despair. As a verb, we can say, we despair of ever seeing them again. So in this sentence, when we're using the word despair, we're saying that we have no hope. We think that we are never going to see them again. As a noun, the example says, if fear changes to despair, a person might give up trying. Because again, despair means that you think things will never change, that they're always going to stay the same. No matter what you do, nothing will change. That feeling is despair. So when you are afraid of something and being afraid makes you feel despair, then people might stop trying for that thing. So despair can be used as an action word, as a verb, but the more common way that people use it is in this way as a noun. A lot of times people will say that they are in despair. For example, I could say, he cried in despair when he lost the race. Or another example would be, her face showed deep despair when she saw the low grade on her test. When people are in despair, they might look very sad or have this kind of very sad reaction or expression on their face. A synonym of despair is hopelessness, and antonyms are to hope, take heart, and hopefulness. Our next word is elevate. Elevate is a verb, and elevate means to lift up, to raise in position or rank, to raise the moral level of. For example, if your foot is swollen, your doctor may tell you to elevate it. So when you elevate something, you are putting it up. You are putting it in a higher place than it was before. So in this sentence, the person has to elevate their feet because their feet are swollen, and when you elevate it, it can help the blood go back down. That way your feet are not super swollen. Another example for elevate could be, the balloons elevated the house into the sky, because elevate means to raise up. So here, these balloons are elevating the house. I could also say, listening to music can elevate your mood. If you are feeling sad and then you put some music on, it can elevate your mood, so it can make you feel happier. And elevate also means to raise in position or rank. So someone who works at a job, if they work very hard, then they can elevate to a higher position or to a higher job. The same is true with you when you are in school. Every year you elevate to a higher grade. Some synonyms for elevate are hoist, to advance, and promote. Antonyms are to lower and to demote. The next word is extraordinary. Extraordinary is an adjective and it means beyond the usual or expected, highly unusual or rare. So something that is extraordinary is really amazing or special. It's not something that normally happens. For example, he has an extraordinary singing voice. So if you've ever heard someone who can sing really, really well, they can sing so well that it's better than what people normally are, you can describe their singing voice as being extraordinary. It's extra amazing. Another example would be, I saw an extraordinary rainbow in the sky. Maybe the rainbow that you saw was so beautiful or so colorful or so close to you that you thought it looked extraordinary. It looked more amazing than normal rainbows do. Another example here, there's a magician, and I can say she did an extraordinary trick by changing her dress in just 1 second. So we can say it is extraordinary. It's amazing or remarkable. Some synonyms are great, exceptional, amazing, and remarkable. Antonyms are ordinary, usual, average, and run-of-the-mill, which just means normal. Our next word is heroic. Heroic is an adjective, and heroic means brave, noble, or larger than life, involving extreme effort. So someone who is heroic is very brave and shows a lot of effort or hard work in what they're doing. A lot of the times they do dangerous things or things that take a lot of time and effort. The example says, the heroic deeds of ancient warriors are legendary. This sentence is a little bit difficult, but it's just saying that ancient warriors, so the warriors or the fighters that lived a long time ago, often did heroic deeds. Deeds are just actions or the things that they did. And the things they did were so brave that people still remember them today. Think about the famous warrior in Korea, Lee Seung-shin, a long time ago. So he is an ancient warrior that did heroic deeds and is now remembered or is legendary. Another example would be, the firefighter made a heroic rescue from the burning building. Or we could also say, the doctor's heroic work saved many lives. And often, superheroes in movies, like the Avengers, can be described as being heroic because they are very brave and they are noble. They're always telling the truth and trying to help people. So that is heroic. Some synonyms are courageous, bold, fearless, and gallant. Antonyms are cowardly, minimal, and trivial. Our next word is lance. Lance is a noun, and a lance is a long metal-tipped weapon used by knights or soldiers on horseback. So this is what a lance looks like. It's made from metal. The tip especially is metal. Sometimes it can be made from wood and other things, but the front part here will be made of metal. And it's carried by knights or soldiers like this, usually when they're riding a horse. So the lance is pointing out like this, and they can attack their enemies using this weapon. This is a lance. It's also any sharp pointed instrument that resembles such a weapon. So now we're not talking just about this, but anything that has a sharp metal point at the tip can be called a lance. The example sentence says, ancient knights typically carried a lance into battle. Synonyms are a spear or shaft, and there are no antonyms for this word. And the word lance can also be used as a verb, so now it's an action that we're doing, and it means to pierce with or as if with a lance, to open a wound. So when you are lancing something, you're basically poking it or you're cutting it open, just like this doctor here in this picture. You can see there is something on the person's foot, and the doctor has a sharp tool here, probably a metal tool, to cut it open. So we can call that a lance. The example sentence says, a doctor may decide to lance an infected blister. So here, if he lances the blister, it means he's poking it or he's cutting it open. Another example would be this balloon here. You can see that the woman is lancing the balloon. So I can say she lanced the balloon with a pin. Or here in this picture, you can see the knight lanced his enemy's shield. Here, this knight is holding a shield, and this other knight will lance it. They will hit it and probably go through the shield. So that is called lancing. And there are some people who sometimes need to poke their fingers to get a little bit of their blood. That way they can check how the sugar is in their blood. So we can say that she needed to lance her finger to get some blood out. Some synonyms for lance are to puncture and cut open. And there are no antonyms for this word. Our next word is missionary. Missionary can be used as a noun or an adjective. And a missionary is a person on assignment, often of a religious nature, someone sent by a church to a foreign land to teach religion and do charity work. So a missionary is usually a person who goes to a church, and that church wants to send information to other places or other countries about their religion or the thing that they believe in. For example, maybe they believe in a god and they want to go to other countries to teach people about that god. And usually they will also do some charity work like building homes or building schools in those countries as well. So the people who do that are called missionaries. The example sentence says, the life of a missionary requires courage and dedication. So in this sentence, we're saying if you want to be a missionary, you need to be very brave and you need to really love doing that. You need to be dedicated to it because it's a difficult job. In this picture here, you can see there are 3 missionaries and they traveled to another country, maybe somewhere where there is a small village, and they are teaching the people of that country about their religion. We can also use the word missionary as an adjective, and it is related to or involved with such an assignment. What this definition is saying is that something that is related to this, to the person that goes and teaches about religion, we can also use it as an adjective. For example, I could say something is a missionary trip, or this is a missionary school, this is a missionary group, or this is a missionary project. We're using that word as an adjective before the noun to describe it as being something from the church. The example sentence says, the peacekeepers worked with a missionary spirit. Synonyms for missionary are a preacher, and there are no antonyms for this word. Our next word is pointless. Pointless is an adjective, and it means having no meaning or effect. For example, sometimes it is pointless to continue a conversation. So what this means is that if you're having a conversation with someone and both of you are fighting and yelling and you're not agreeing on anything, maybe it's not a good idea to keep having a conversation. It's pointless, or there's no reason why you should do it if you can't agree. Here's another example. You can see this man is holding an umbrella, but the umbrella is broken and has many holes. So that umbrella is not going to protect him from the rain. So I can say it is pointless to use an umbrella that has holes because the rain will still come through. Another example could be, it felt pointless to run after the bus when it was already gone. You can try to run after the bus, but the bus is faster and you're probably never going to be able to catch it, so it is pointless. There's no meaning to it, there's no reason to do it. Some synonyms for pointless are senseless, aimless, futile, meaningless, worthless, ineffective, and unproductive. Antonyms are fitting, meaningful, sensible, effective, and valuable. Is there ever a time where you were doing something and it felt pointless, like there was no reason for you to keep doing this thing? Our next word is reflect. Reflect is a verb and it means to throw back as heat, light, or sound, to give back an image of as a mirror. For example, the clouds reflect on the lake's surface. So in this picture here, you can see this is actually a lake, and here are some trees in the middle, and this is the sky. But the lake is so clear that the clouds reflect on the lake. So the light is coming down and it's going back up. It is reflecting. Here too, this is a mirror, and as you can see, a mirror reflects your face. It shows you what you look like. That is reflect. Reflect can also mean to make apparent, to show or demonstrate. For example, I could say, his good grades reflect his hard work. So because he got good grades, we can see that he worked hard. So it's making apparent, it's making us see, or it's showing us that he worked hard. We can also use reflect in this way. And reflect can also mean to think deeply about. So when you are thinking very carefully or very deeply about something, you can also be reflecting. For example, I can say, she likes to reflect on her day before sleeping. Before she goes to sleep, she likes to think carefully about all the things that happened in her day. Maybe she's thinking about whether what she did was a good idea or how she wants to be better tomorrow. Some people reflect about their day by writing it down in a diary. They might have a book like this where they just write down all of the things that happened, the things they liked, the things they didn't like. So that is called to reflect. Some synonyms are to copy, echo, return, to reveal, to consider, ponder, and muse. Antonyms are to absorb, retain, to disregard, and ignore. Our next word is sight. Sight. Sight is a noun, and sight is a location, scene, or place where something was, is, or will be. For example, Yorktown was the site of a famous battle. So in this sentence, Yorktown is a place, and that place is the site or the location where something happened, where the famous battle happened. So any location where something is can be also called a site. Another example would be, we visited the site of the old castle. Or I could say, the campsite is by the river. Or another example would be, this is the site where the school will be built. It's the location. Synonyms are a spot or position. And there are no antonyms for this word. Our last word is toxic. Toxic is an adjective, and toxic means poisonous or deadly. For example, a gas mask can filter out toxic fumes. So this is an example of a gas mask. And if there is bad gas in the air, then this mask will stop it from going into your body because some gas can be toxic. It can hurt you, it can even kill you. Usually when things are toxic, they might have some label on it like this with the skull or the X that says toxic. So when something is toxic, you should not eat it or touch it or sometimes even go near it. I could also say the waste from the factory is toxic to animals. Sometimes factories who make things will have some toxic waste or trash like this that they might throw into rivers or leave on the land, and this can be very harmful to animals if they eat it or if they get it on their bodies. Another example would be some snakes make toxic venom. So if their venom goes into your body, it can harm you or it might even kill you. That is toxic. Some synonyms for toxic are dangerous, harmful, venomous, and lethal. Antonyms are non-toxic, safe, and harmless. So remember, if you see that something is toxic or has a toxic sticker on it like this, you should stay away from it. And that's all for this video. We went over the vocabulary workshop Level Orange Unit 11 words. Thank you so much for listening and see you next time. Bye!